Hey, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the first edition of Hash Growth MBA 2020. Well, as you all might be listening and have got an introduction of what Hash Growth is, just a repeat. Hash Growth is an invite-only and exclusive community aimed at fostering growth and sharing new insights from CMOs like you, essentially for CMOs, digital heads, product owners, entrepreneurs, growth marketers, and user experience heads from the leading traditional and mobile first brands. I, Sanjay Prasad from MoEngage, will be the moderator and the host for this exclusive, very interesting, very exciting BFSI panel. A quick background about me is I had BFSI sales across India and Middle East and Africa for MoEngage. MoEngage, which is an intelligent customer engagement platform. I bring with me 20 years of experience, majorly into BFSI, and that to last 10 years in the field of customer experience. Now, let me introduce our panelists right now, starting with Banali. So we have Banali Luthra Malhotra. So she's the director marketing Rack Bank. She comes with rich 25 years of experience, majorly in the BFSI segment. That to a significant portion, almost 60% of that with Rack Bank and earlier with American Express Bank. She has played various roles in leadership roles, the latest being director of marketing. Welcome, Banali.
Hi, Sandeep. Thanks. I'm so happy to be here.
Pleasure is ours, Banali. Now let me introduce Sandeep Potvall, Head of Marketing at Commercial Bank of Dubai. Again, rich 26 years of experience, and major part of that experience also has been in BFSI. Banks like Union National Bank, and the last 3 years as head of marketing with the Commercial Bank of Dubai. Welcome, Sandeep.
Thanks, Sanjay. Hi, Banali.
My third customer from the bank side, or the third client from the bank side, is Jayanth Krishnan, who's with Meshreq Bank. Again, he comes with very rich 18 years experience. Majority of that, I will say almost a decade with Citibank, last 2.5 years with Meshreq Bank as VP Products and Digital Product Lead. Welcome, Jayanth.
Yeah, thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Thanks, Jayanth. And bringing a very different angle to this panel, we have with us Ankur Joshi, CEO and co-founder of Nuclei. Now, today, Nuclei is powering digital transformation and I'll say lifestyle banking for several banks across India, MEA and SEA. I'm sure listening to his perspective and experience would be an enriching experience today. I personally look forward to learn a lot from you all. With that, let me just kick off with my first question. I'm sure many of you would have read the ebook which MoEngage has published recently. MoEngage is really focused into BFSI vertical as such. We have been working with eminent banks like Meshreq Bank, Ally Bank, CIMB Bank, Fincare Bank, Ujjivan Bank, etc., and many BFSI institutes as such. Based on this experience is what we have launched this particular ebook. Now, in that, what we have also published an important, numbers, region specific, that globally 20.28% has been the rise, when it comes to the overall people who are downloading the, apps, etc. And when it comes to DAU, the daily active users have also risen by 6% in Q2. Now, the point that we want to make here is that people are migrating towards digital, which obviously means apps, which obviously means website for their banking needs. And along with that, there's a tectonic shift, if you see, of when it comes to needs of millennials and Gen Z. And add to that, your long-term impact of the pandemic. So my first question goes to you, Banali. In the above light, we would like to hear more from you of how you are addressing this particular challenge of this customer's perspective. They're moving to digital, and this challenges of the millennials and Gen Z. Banali, over to you with my first question.
Sure, Sanjay. Thanks for that. So I think the pandemic has accelerated the digital adoption, which was already started, I think, a couple of years, but it just accelerated it. And many industries, and banking is absolutely no exception to the rule. And we are hoping that this digital adoption will become more habit forming, so it will help all of us as well. At Rack Bank, besides the usual, which most organizations have done, I like to highlight a couple of key things that we have done along the way and during the pandemic to increase this digital adoption. for us, firstly, it was embracing and educating customers along the way about contactless payments, for example. That is something which started a couple of years back, but has gathered a lot of momentum during COVID. So we have the different contactless payments, all 6 of them, in fact, enabled for our customers, which is Apple Pay, Samsung Pay, Google Pay, Garmin Pay, Fitbit Pay, and most recently Swatch Pay as well. It is an easier, safer, and more convenient payment option. And once people start adopting this, it is really habit forming. I mean, I haven't done anything but Apple Pay since I started Apple Pay. So it is something that we have now promoted, educated, and embraced. We have seen adoption in all these pays in our own portfolio about 2.5 times more than what it was before the pandemic. This thing. So that's one thing that we've seen, which is helping, and it was the need of the hour. The second thing I think during this time is also the payment apps, which are the main rock stars or growth accelerators during COVID as well. So we have our own homegrown Skiply app, which was actually designed to enable parents to make school payment fees right from their homes. This app again was launched last year pre-COVID, but the acceleration and traction that we've seen during this period, because again, it was something which was convenient, useful, and the need of the hour, has been huge. We've seen about 145 schools already who have adopted and are on to our Skiply app. 72,000 students have registered. We have a reach of over 200,000 parents who are using this app and are aware of it. So it's products which are useful, meaningful, and timely, where we've seen huge amount of digital adoption that has happened. And the last one example that I can give you, which is again meaningful for customers, is our Rack Foodie app that we had again launched some time back. But because dining was an option that was not happening due to lockdowns, we focused on delivery options during this period, and we saw engagement in a lot of engagement in during this period on delivery options. So that was again something that we responded to what was the need of the hour. So with all this, we are keeping the customer the heart of all the digital adoptions and meaningful journeys that we are highlighting and enabling for him. So we've seen a lot of adoption, and we're happy with the numbers that we have been seeing.
Amazing. Thanks a lot, Banali. Your answer really helped, and it set the tone because you have given so much of analysis. 200,000 parents, 145 schools, 72,000 students. You said 2.5 times increase in adoption and payment apps, and interesting. Very nice. Thanks a lot for setting the tone, Manali. Sandeep, I would like to move to you with the same question. I mean, besides, as you say, addressing the challenge, you also might have to do a lot of other things in the same light. My question remains the same, but other things in perspective, innovative ways of targeting, delighting, engaging, retaining, and whatnot to address this challenge when you're trying to move them to to digital. And on the same light, what is your input, Sandeep?
No, I tend to agree with Banali. I mean, we've also, digitization as the increase in terms of people adopting digitization thanks to COVID has, as somebody has quoted, right? 2 months of COVID has actually done far more than 2 years of in the past, and that's really true for not just BFSI, but I guess across industries. And I've been speaking to SME clients and who come back and said, it's really been an eye opener. People who had only a brick and mortar sort of experience have now struggled big time, realizing that there is no backup option for customers to really engage with. So we've seen a phenomenal uptake as well in terms of our digital adoption. We've always been sort of promoting and using our app as our sort of, we've been always wanting to be default digital and using as a mobile first sort of strategy. So it just sort of tied in well. We had quite a lot of new sort of initiatives and products that we launched. So for example, we launched the digital account, a completely seamless onboarding experience right in the midst of COVID. And the uptake on that has been, again, amazingly good, where we've sort of benchmarked ourselves with the West in the world, and you can actually open an account seamlessly in just 10 clicks in under 2 minutes. So just using your Emirates ID. We've also consciously looked at tapping into a segment that typically banks have so far probably not looked at actively, which is the unbanked segment, the people earning, say, 3,000 dirhams and lower. We've sort of made the proposition so attractive by saying that you don't really need to maintain a minimum balance. You don't need to transfer your salary, you get a free debit card and plus a host of other benefits, including 2 free remittances every month. And that's when we sort of understood pain points and user behavior, because typically remittances is what most of these blue collar workers typically tend to do. And the advantage of offering free remittances instantly through your mobile is something that's sort of standing in good stead. We've also obviously extended the offer to, it's not just a bank-to-bank account, but you can actually make sure that there is a cash pickup option as well as a transfer directly to a wallet. So these are all sort of helping us sort of weather the COVID storm, so to speak. And I mean, touch wood, last few months, actually business seems to be slowly but surely getting back to normal. So the outlook is sort of positive. And as Banali rightly said, I mean, digitization, once you get into this, I mean, it's very unlikely that somebody's going to go back into the paper-based thing. So you've got a customer for life. So if I've got somebody using my app to make his utility bill payments, I'm pretty certain that he's going to continue to do that and not decide to go walk into a branch and want to fill up a form. So things seem to be positive and looking up.
Sure. Thank you so much, Sandeep. So I would just like to add 2 points to this. I would like, while speaking to one of the CMOs, I remember the CMO said digitization is driven by C levels. It can be a CMO, it can be a CEO, it can be CEO, but the C that has really driven, as you said, 2 months of COVID. And few of the points which you brought out, like, improvement or ease of use of remittances, those kind of features is something I can relate with Jayanth very well. That's what I guess MoEngage has done with Metric, where there has been an uplift in most of these things, whether it is remittance, whether it's onboarding and things like that. So Jayanth, I straight away shoot the question to you. It's the same question which I've put across to Banali and Sandeep in perspective of the challenge in the current situation, in perspective of people moving towards digital, towards app, and of course, the millennial and Gen Z. Jayanth, over to you.
Sure. I think fantastic points both by Banali and Sandeep. I mean, like 2 months of COVID has completely transformed a lot of things, even at Mashreq as well. I mean, just adding on to what Banali said on contactless payments, as a bank, we have been trying to do a lot of communication on contactless payments, but with marginal uptake. But if you see during the pandemic, like 60% drop in cash transactions, and straight away moving to like NFC tap and pay payments or any contactless payments, for example. The other point that I just want to add is maybe it's a myth that the digital is favoring only the millennials or Gen Z. It may not be true. For example, in Matchtech, if you see the average age of customers who onboard themselves, like the digitally savvy customers, they download the app and do the onboarding themselves. If you see the average age of those guys during the pandemic, especially, that's about 36 years. So 36 years is definitely not a millennial age at any point. So millennial as a digital transformation or this migration towards digital has impacted across all age groups. Millennials, they were already digitally savvy, but even the other age groups have accelerated their transformation or migration towards digital, thanks to, again, another C that you just mentioned.
Yeah, sure. Great. Hey, thanks a lot, Jayanth. And that's a very important 2 inputs that you said, 60% drop in cash payments and average age of people who have been adopting to this digital has been 36 years. Ankur, now we'd like to hear from you. While banks are trying to thrive and bring across contactless payment and ease of use, improvement in remittance and whatnot, so that the digital adoption is good. How is it that you have been helping the banks in the same agenda?
Sorry, I was on.
No worries.
It has given a big opportunity for banks to deepen their relationship with customers. So what Rag Bank has been doing is not just a very vanilla relationship in terms of having an account opened with the bank. It is also to do about multiple other use cases which the bank can facilitate for the customer in their life. Right? So it could be something around school fees. It could be anything to do with every other channel which the customer is transacting across, every other category which the customer is using. Can the bank help the customer make customer's life easier across all those transactions? And specifically now in a digital manner. What Jayanth said, I completely agree that it's not just the younger generation which is adopting digital. I don't want my dad to visit a bank's branch right now, right? I want him to adopt digital channels because he is a bit more at risk than me from COVID. So it is more important for that generation to adopt digital channels, become more adept at it, and therefore also a challenge for the bank to kind of manage customer experience across all these different segments, right? So yes, it is a definite black swan for the whole world, but it's a very big opportunity for banks to deepen their relationship with the customer, not just on the banking transactions, but across the life cycle of the customer.
Sure. Hey, thank you so much, Ankur. Jayanth, my next question goes to you, and essentially, this is again from the same trend where you all have spoken in perspective of contactless, not just payment, but I'll say contactless banking also, where customers have are moving away from physical movement to the branches and increasingly engaging through multitude of I'll say digital channels. Now, what this brings forth is emphasis on digital communication, which has kind of taken a central stage. Partly, of course, because of the expectation that digital apps have got, which is, I will say, touch the roof, and people expect communication to be seamless, flawless, and agile. And in fact, in the same ebook, I am again and again repeating about the ebook. Feel free to download that from MoEngage website. We'll be happy to allow you to read our findings and our experience with clients like you. So in that book, what we have mentioned that this particular way of providing experience to customers, we call it as Netflix of banking experience model, right? So Jayanth, my question starts with you. Like, what are some of your starting thoughts on this model, and what are some of those initial few steps that you have been doing to bring this Netflix of banking experience model towards your customers?
Yeah, sure. It's a great question. If you see, if you simplify what Netflix is essentially trying to do, Netflix does one thing really well. What it does is it understands what are the preferences and tastes of users, and through their delivery channel, that is their app or their website, they show the relevant products or the relevant movies or series to the customers. It's a very, I'm just trying to oversimplify at a very high level. They are using data analytics to make their delivery platform seamless and tailor-made. That's essentially what they're doing, which is what I think not just Mashrek, I think every bank is also trying to do. They also have data. They also have their delivery platforms, which is their mobile app and websites. And we try to tailor make the experiences based on user data. But I think many banks are struggling to do this. They are not at the level of Netflix, primarily because of the way the data architecture is, or the way the technology architecture is built in the banks, because of legacy systems. The data architecture is completely different from the way our delivery platform architecture is. So these two don't talk to each other at all. So that's why we have to do a lot of out of the box solutions, like somehow try to get the data out of data and somehow bring it to the delivery channel, and then we try to create some Netflix of banking experience, but we don't succeed, or we don't even come close to what Netflix is trying to do. But I think with Mashrek is trying to embark on a massive digital transformation. I'm sure many banks here across the world are also trying to bring in this digital transformation precisely to make up this aspect, to ensure that the data platforms and the delivery platforms are in the same tech stack, and these two talk to each other, so that the simple data analytics and instant tailor-made experiences can be delivered. Which is, I think it's not far away. It's only a matter of time before every bank, you will also see similar kind of Netflix experience in the way products are displayed, in the way we engage with customers. That's going to be. But till that happens, we use a lot of other tools. Like MoEngage has been a great tool that we have been using to tailor make communication and sending it to customers. A tailor making experience is something that's definitely essential in these days. For example, a simple example that we did with MoEngage is that when you send a notification to customers, you just start the notification with the customer's name and then follow the notification. It results in like 2x increase in the click-through rate of the notification, or the success of the notification. So simple things like adding a name or making it contextual goes a long way to achieving the success with respect to engagement. Till we get to like a state of the art banking infrastructure, we can rely on these kind of clever communications to make this kind of tailor-made products and communications better.
Awesome. Thanks, Jan. So like personalization and tailor-made personalization,
Yes.
helping you even just by taking names, 2x increase, and the impact is amazing. And of course, I'm sure, and you're one of the first banks to bring digital to SMEs. So definitely you're in the path of Netflix of banking. So with that question, Sandeep, I'll come to you. I mean, like, what are your steps in that perspective of doing the Netflix of banking experience?
I mean, I tend to agree with Jayanth. I mean, there are challenges obviously with making sure that your data architecture is sort of all in one place. I mean, the whole siloed approach of data is a challenge for most legacy banks. And I mean, banks, especially like Mashreq and us, who've been around for 50 years and more. I mean, these are challenges. These are definite challenges that we have. But I guess the good thing is, I mean, there is sort of a clear buy-in right from the top in terms of saying the way forward needs to be far different from the way things have been done. So we are working in terms of making sure that we have those sort of unification and one customer data platform, which allows us to therefore then be able to use the data seamlessly across touch points and then use the right relevant analytics tools to be then able to real-time sort of engage with customers and send out push notifications, SMSs and emails. But to me, I mean, I've got a slightly different take on the Netflix of banking. And I mean, Netflix of banking to me is also a bit about choice. I mean, so communication is definitely one aspect, but to me, Netflix is also all about choice. It's about I choosing the program of my liking, you know, the series, and about being able to tailor make those kind of things. And we tried to do that a little bit late last year by actually doing something similar with our credit card offering. So CBD1 was a product offering that we did where we actually tried to do this, and it was a fairly sort of new sort of product offering where we said, you choose your card design, you choose your package, you choose your benefits, and you choose your pricing. And just like Netflix, you can pause the program anywhere, you can pause the thing, you can do it's a monthly package, you can shift, you can upgrade. And I mean, again, touch wood, the uptake on that has been brilliant. But again, the product has been clearly targeted at the millennials and the Gen Z sort of audience. And it sort of has worked well. I mean, we are now looking at extending that beyond just obviously credit cards into other products. But to me, that's where the future is, where you give the choice to the customer. Let the customer decide whether he wants to take a loan for. Why are you saying restricting it to only 48 months? I mean, it can be 23 months. I mean, I don't need to be hardbound on that. And let the customer decide what he wants and how he wants it. And that is where ultimately I think the ultimate future lies.
Awesome. No, and that reflects, like I've read a few of your achievements also. You're receiving the Best Digital Bank Award by, Banker Middle East Awards. And with that, I'll move to Banali. Well, the RAG Bank is definitely not behind. You all also received the Best Digital Banking by Ethos Customer Happiness Seminar and Awards. And in the same light, Banali, your views on how you spoke a lot definitely in your first answer. Of students also adopting to this particular payment app, and of course parents and all. But when it comes to Netflix of the banking experience, Banali, would like to hear from you.
Yeah, so while I totally agree with Jayanth and Sandeep, and I must congratulate Sandeep for their one app that they developed. I think it was interesting, and we all took notice of it. And we at RAGBank are, accelerating our own digital maturity and evolving the entire mobile ecosystem, and taking on from where Ankur said. So in a matter of 3 years, we have moved from one app to 6 apps. And 3 of these apps are actually not banking apps. So we have our business banking app, our transaction banking app, and our remittance app. But I'm not talking about those 3. I'm talking about the other 3, which are more customer focused, which is for food, for football, and for school payments. So we are developing the ecosystem on mobile payments a lot. And we have our own Netflix stroke Spotify, because I'm a big fan of that, inspired model where we call it marketing in the moment, so to say. So that's the model that we operate on, and the key drivers are no different from what these gentlemen have alluded to. Data analytics being the key and in a core for any campaign that we do. We track and tag all customers to see consumer insights and their behavior to be able to do that. One example which has worked well for us that I like to share with you, and it's the recent one that we've done with data, is we've developed our own predictive analytics. And this model is for a campaign that we just developed for Gold account, for example. And here what we did was we managed to see predict people's future gold buying behaviors based on location signals as well as their past buying patterns, and combine the two of those. And then we're able to offer more precision-based targeting to these customers. And we saw a huge take-up in this campaign, 10x jump on leads as well as conversion and engagement, because it was right time, right place, right audience, right messaging. So that was critical. And this model was developed because of all the data that we had in-house as well, along with our business intelligence team. So that was one thing which is, I think, critical. Going further, personalization, I think it's very important. Everybody is now currently bombarded with marketing messages at every platform. Wherever you go, you are bombarded. So the key is to see that if you're giving a relevant information, customers are craving for information which are specialized and customized for themselves. So while it's important, it's also a double-edged sword. I think it's a double-edged sword. So the challenge and the task is to balance, making it a moment of joy and pleasure versus creeping them out. So it can be creepy as well. So for example, I think Spotify does it really well. When Spotify and Amazon as well. I think they do personalization really well. They recommend it's relevant information, it's useful information. Maybe the other brands can tend to creep you out because they're hearing they alluded to hearing your conversations is probably Google and Facebook, for example. You can get sort of, you're not searching and it's sort of this thing. So I think it's a fine balance where you need to make sure that you're using it for the right time, right place, right person as well. And has to be a clear value exchange for the customer. He has to, want it, and it shouldn't be the other way. And I think, MoEngage with us as well, helps, your push notification tools help ensure that we don't creep out customers. And it's based on personalization and data driven and so on and so forth. So I think these are two good examples. I think that the third thing that we need to also do is, while we all get into the race of increasing the number of downloads, we all know as quickly as we get downloads, we also get uninstalls.
Yes.
So we have to be aware, as much as we only want to share data where, okay, how many downloaded, we also get a lot of the other way. So I think it's critical not to have your whole strategy of lifecycle management thought through, where you're nudging people who are along the way with value exchange to ensure that, you're retaining them with something throughout as well. And it's not only conversion, download, and then forgotten, because uninstall happens equally quickly. So the customer right now wants to see value and wants to continue seeing value to keep engaged. So it's a tall task, but you need to make sure that you've thought it through before you start losing them equally quickly.
Awesome, Manali. That's very nice of you to add some more, spice to the answer in perspective of, when data plays such an important role to bring the Netflix of experience. And with that, what I will do is I'll, mix my last couple of questions and start with Ankur. You first is, there are some key aspects to, when you say providing these kind of experience. Personalization is definitely key. It does impact, as we heard from Jayanth, that just taking a name, gave an impact of 2x, responses. Now, before this, of course, what comes is segmentation, which kind of is the first step, and some might say even the most, crucial one. And it brings a huge difference between a performing campaign and a non-performing one. So that becomes one. And I will combine this question with the second, with my last question as well, which is, orchestrating the journey based on your segmentation, and in this orchestration, you want to use omni channels, like we did hear a couple of times push, but there are other channels also which play a role. It can be web, it can be email, it can be SMS, WhatsApp, your social, etc. So in trading this path of doing the right segmentation strategy, the right orchestration and personalization. So, this is my question to you. How would you, tread this particular path?
So see, for us, because we power so many categories across financial services, or whether it is on lifestyle banking, it is very, very important how we target or how we communicate with a particular customer. So obviously, like we have MoEngage tool integrated in our platform as well, and we use it to create all these cohorts or segments of customers on the basis either on their profiles, various data points across their profiles, or on the basis as and when we get more data around their transactions. So once you have all these cohorts there, like Manali said that, you cannot just over communicate the hell out of a customer. You have to nudge the customer at the right moment. You have to make sure that the nudges are also personalized in nature. They are also smart in nature. So there must be smart triggers which you can send to customers if at all there are certain action items which are happening. So when you're communicating, and in banking universe, there are so many products or so many aspects in which you are communicating with the customer. It just cannot be a single communication to everyone. It has to be personalized. It has to be cohort specific, and that will give you a much better response, much better conversion in your marketing campaigns, as well as make the relationship between the customer and the bank much more personalized. So the customer who was used to a personal relationship while visiting a branch, obviously that will now move to digital, and therefore this relationship needs to have that warmth, and that warmth will get generated by having a personalized, like as Jen said, like adding a name to the notification, having certain triggered notifications around someone's certain milestones, whether it's a birthday or anniversary, etc., etc. That will add that warmth and make it much more personal. So like using tools like MoEngage or having multiple categories to communicate the customer with will become a lot more important going forward.
True. In fact, I was reading a report where it said that way back in 2016 itself, the online banking adoption in UAE was 92% and M-banking was like close to 79%. Hey, Sandeep, so the same question goes to you, relevance of the right strategies of segmentation, and then orchestrating that personalized omni-channel communication. So what are your views on the same? And this is the last question, actually.
Sure. No, I completely agree with Ankur. I think segmentation plays a big role. Like my CEO says, we need to get to a stage of when we are marketing to one and not marketing to the mass. And that is my utopian dream, to be able to market to one. And that is what we need to get to. We can't use this one shoe size fits all kind of approach, obviously.
Yeah.
Data and segmentation plays an absolutely critical role in terms of being able to do that. So without that in place, my only flip side sort of thought is, again, I'm actually an advertising person when I started off my career. I just feel the more you get segmented, the more you sort of personalize communication, the role of creativity seems to be something that I personally feel is dying. Or probably is not needed, because if I'm giving you the right offer at the right time, at the right point, I don't need to be too creative. I don't need to hard sell it to you. And that's my only sort of, I feel a little sad for advertising agencies, because they probably don't have a role to play as we go along, because all we need is data scientists, and we need to be really able to just offer the right product and have those 1,001 sort of options there, and it's the algo that picks up what's most relevant to Sanjay as opposed to Banali and as opposed to Ankur, and I don't need to be too creative about it. So Cannes Awards probably will change from to more effectiveness awards than really creative awards.
Yeah, more database creators. Amazing. That's a very nice take. And the moment you said it's more about the right offer to right person, right time, and creativity is not much required. Yes, definitely. Jayanth, the same question to you.
Yeah, sure. In Mashtech, we also follow definitely segmentation, like what Ankur said. Without segmentation, sending communication is like absurd. You definitely have to segment. So we have like 4 different buckets, and what we have is, internally we call this as like hot, cold, colder, and coldest. So hot based on the frequency with which customers are doing transactions with us, and based on their level of engagement and activity. And naturally, hot being the hottest, most active, and coldest being the most inactive. But what I have seen is that from previous experience with other banks and talking to other colleagues in other banks as well, the biggest challenge for banks is the coldest segment. The coldest segment are the customers who have opened their accounts or opened their products and have done nothing. They've absolutely not even done a single transaction, not even put single dirham in their account. That's what you call as the coldest segment. It's extremely difficult to convert that segment to do some kind of activity, because whatever kind of communication you send, it goes off as if, there is no impact at all. So that's like the hardest stone to move, which is where we use some kind of, data analytics tools to see, to sort of sub-segment the hottest segment to see if there are some pockets or mirror images, kind of demographic pockets that are available in the coldest segment, to see if we can target them with some clever communication. And it did give some results, but not significant. But maybe that's one thing that we always try to do. Always try to keep sending relevant communication to these segments so that they at least become one level warmer than the previous segment. That's what we do. On your other point on omni-channel experience, that's extremely important. That's what we try to do as part of our digital transformation, to have an omni-channel experience, not just for onboarding. Most of the banks focus primarily on onboarding, and they don't really talk so much about customer leaving the bank. Like what Sandeep said, the CBD example. It's not just important to have the customer on board, but it's equally important to give an opportunity for a customer to cancel the contract anytime. That's what Netflix does. If you see, Netflix is so successful because it's so easy to get off Netflix. Just go to subscription and say cancel. You can cancel the subscription right there and there, and no questions asked. Whereas if you want to close an account, you have to go to the branch. And bankers predominantly, they try to make that account closure process so difficult that you generally don't even try to approach us to close the account. So that's what we bankers try to do. But that's again changing. So if you see, many banks are trying to make this omni-channel experience for account closure as well. So just like you open an account digitally through the app, we are trying to create an experience where you can close the account digitally through the app. Again, no questions asked. Stop the contract, and whatever fees you want, pay the fees and move on. So that's the kind of omni-channel experience that we are trying to create across the entire life cycle, not just onboarding, but across onboarding engagement as well as through account closure.
Hey, thanks a lot, Jayanth. Very nice of you to explain things with the use cases. We are very proud to associate with you and win the EFMA Capgemini Award. And again, my congratulations to all the panelists. Like CBD also receiving the most innovative digital banking award, and Manali was so proud on data analytics. No wonder they got the Digital Transformation Award by Asian Banker. I think so. We are almost at end of time. We have limited time just to take, say, one or two takeaways, from each one of you. And thanks a lot, Sandeep, for posting the link for all the attendees. If you really want to, read the ebook on banking, you guys can download. The link is already there. And so let's start with takeaway. I'm like, Sandeep, do we have time for takeaways?
Yes.
Maybe a minute from.
Yes, please go ahead.
So much.
Yeah.
Great. So, Manali, I would like to start with you with just one or 2 points of takeaways that you have as a guidance to all the attendees and the fellow panelists out here.
So I think I'll be quick. I think the most critical one, and which something that we are obsessed with, is harnessing our first party data to drive precision targeting. I think that should be key. And by the tools and stacks that is important to deliver on that. To build a robust marketing stack, which again talks like, for example, we have an in-house DMP, which talks to our CDP and the other stacks. So it's important to make sure all the ecosystems and all the platforms talk to each other. I think that would be the other. And then driving meaningful personalization at scale. That's the other challenge. And I think that should be at scale. And that would be another one that I would want to do. We've developed for lifecycle management, we have developed our own little models, and where we try and do segmentation based on recency, frequency, monetary requirement as well on RFM. So we're trying to do that. Segmentation clearly plays a very important role, and the gentlemen have all alluded to that as well. So I'll leave it at that. But for me, those would be the key takeaways.
Thank you so much, Manali. Sandeep, your key takeaways?
For me, my sort of one advice to all sort of watching would be that, there is no magic bullet. There is no formula. I think we're all sort of still learning, and we're still sort of iterating. I think that the one sort of key message would be to be not afraid to experiment, because if there was a formula, then all of us would be out of jobs. Marketing there would be no need for marketers. We were still experimenting, we're still learning. So don't be afraid to make mistakes, because that's the only way that you could actually improve.
Great, thanks, Sandeep. So, Jayanth, when I come to you for answer, there's a question from the panel, which I think so each one of you all have answered in one way or the other, of keeping a very fine balance in your personalization, keeping a fine balance in the communication that you do. But still, I'll read out the question, and Jayanth, answering this, you can mention your takeaways. So give me a sec. The question is, how do you handle communication fatigue? While personalization is great, if communication fatigue sets in, you're not able to get your message across. What are some ways that we can ensure this fatigue does not set in?
Yeah, that's a very, very good answer. A very, very good question. But I don't have, like what Sandeep said, I don't have a magic bullet answer for that. So there will be, you will face circumstances where you are just not able to communicate with those customers, like what I mentioned as the coldest segment. How much ever you try, they just don't react to those messages. But the key point is to keep trying with various creative ways to communicate with these customers. If one offer does not work, don't just stop. Maybe some other offer will definitely work. And even after 2-3 attempts, if it does not work, I mean, move on. I mean, you can obviously assume that customer is no longer interested in the bank, and you can just move on and focus on something else. But my only point is that, just because some customer is not responding, it is like completely illogical to bombard that customer with so many communication that at the end of the day, the customer is just it's very easy for customer these days, right? They just can't report that message as spam, and whatever you try will not even be seen by that customer, and will only result in poor credibility of the entire email handle. So you try once or twice with very creative ways, like what Sandeep said, use creativity and try to attempt 3-4 times. But beyond that, if customer does not react, I don't think we should be disheartened. We should just move on and focus on the other segments.
Great. Hey, thank you so much, Jen. Ankur, would like to end with the takeaways from you, lifestyle banking and whatnot. It will be nice to hear from you.
Yeah, so see, one key takeaway for me is that there is a very big opportunity for bankers to deepen relationship with customers, and there is it is an absolute need for all the bankers, because the offline element of the banks is more or less going to be reduced over the period of time. That increase more engagement with the customer across segment, not just the banking segment, but across the complete life cycle of the customer. And as and when you move forward, you personalize that experience. So that's the biggest key takeaway.